Michelle's Bachelorette season is right around the corner, so we're looking back at her journey so far in Bachelor Nation. Hey guys, welcome back to another Shared News from Home. We are so excited to talk about all things Michelle, but before we get into it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I am your host, Fiona Zaring, and today I am joined by the wonderful Morgan Wright and Zachary Reality. You guys, before we even dive into this, I have got to know how excited you both are for Michelle's season. Morgan, I know you love her, so I'm going to let you start. How are we feeling?
On a scale of 1 to 10, 11. I cannot wait for Michelle's season. She was my favorite on Matt James' season, so I truly cannot wait. Her season can't come fast enough.
What about you,
I'm
Zach?
not gonna say I'm a diehard Michelle fan like Morgan is. I do like Michelle. I am a little bit more on the indifferent side with Michelle, just because I feel like we didn't get to know too much about her. Obviously, we're gonna talk a lot about her right now. But after we reviewed the 35 potential men that are gonna go on her season, now I'm excited because we have some really good guys to look forward to. So I cannot wait.
Yeah, I think that is actually a really great case study between the three of us because I loved Michelle, but I wasn't obsessed with her. You're obsessed with her, Morgan, and Zachary, you're still figuring her out. So we've got a lot of different personalities here as we head into the season. So, you guys, like we said, we of course met Michelle on Matt James's season of The Bachelor. She was one of the girls from that group of five that came in late and absolutely rocked the house. Obviously, the original girls were not thrilled to have them join the season, and drama pretty much immediately started. But if we think back, Michelle really managed to stay out of it, which in hindsight is pretty interesting. I remember initially being excited about her, but Morgan, what was your first impression of Michelle when she arrived?
Well, I will say my actual first impression of Michelle came from Matt James's Instagram because if you remember, he posted a photo of him and Michelle and the caption said better late than never. Now, this was
Mhm.
before that episode even aired. So I knew by that post that Michelle was going to be a front runner. And since when he posted that, I was just so excited for her. And to me, she lived up to those expectations. I feel like the chemistry was there from the second they met. And like Matt James said, better late than never with Michelle.
Yes. And Michelle was
Wow.
actually one of the only Michelle was the only girl out of the 5 that did not get into any drama. Brittany, who came in, got into drama with Anna. Ryan, who came in, and the Queen Camila, I think her name was, from Puerto Rico, they both got into drama with Catalina. The Queen Catalina, they both got into drama with Queen Victoria, and then that other girl, Liz, went home. So Michelle was the only one out of the 5 because like all the girls were pissed off when these 5 came in so late. So Michelle like came in, she had no problems with anyone, and she actually got, which we're gonna get into, the first date, and Matt really liked her. So Michelle, like, no problems with Michelle, like no controversy. Like she just like was very well liked by the group immediately.
Yeah, and that is a hard thing to do. I think that the fact that she was able to establish very early connection with Matt while also winning over a pretty tricky group of girls to win over definitely speaks to her character. Like Zachary mentioned, she obviously immediately stood out to Matt because she got the next one-on-one date literally like the next day after she got there. They hit it off very, very quickly and were certainly able to make up for lost time. During that date, Matt actually said, quote, "The conversation with Michelle is flowing a lot smoother than some of the women who have been in this house for 4 weeks now. We're able to have fun, have this great experience during the day. Then we're able to really dig deep and talk about the things that matter, things that are going to affect the future. That's the type of depth that I am looking for in a woman." You guys, I remember being absolutely blown away by this one-on-one, feeling like as a viewer, like, okay, this is what I have been waiting for. They went up in that hot air balloon. It was so romantic. I felt like sparks were flying. Zachary, did you think she was going to be a major contender after this first date?
Well, kind of like with Morgan said, with the Instagram, obviously we knew she was going to be a major contender, but the fact that she was the only one out of the new girls to get a first date, like you can tell that Matt obviously had an interest in her. And then on the date, it was definitely sparks. As you mentioned, blown away quite literally and figuratively, because that hot air balloon ride was so cool. They haven't done that in a long time on The Bachelor, and they had a very natural, easy conversation. I think it really shows a lot that Matt noticed that with her immediately, because there are other girls in the house. You say the house, I say the castle, if you remember Matt James's season. And literally, Michelle made a great first impression, and I think that they had a really strong connection. I mean, she made it really far, as we're going to continue to talk about.
Yeah, Morgan, I remember watching this first date and feeling like they had known each other for a long time, which is something that's always kind of exciting during a first date if you can get into that rhythm. What stood out to you on their first one on one?
Yeah, well, from personal experiences, whenever I did date, I hated it. Going on first dates was horrible. Oh my gosh, it's like the worst thing in the world to me. So when you're able to have conversations like you just have known somebody your whole entire life, like the excitement I just felt was through the roof. And I feel like, like I said before, with the post from Matt James before we even saw her on his Instagram, and then that's the first one on one date that we saw. I literally thought in that moment that it was done. Like the rest of the season, we can wrap it up. It's Michelle's game to lose
Mhm,
because at that point, we really hadn't seen a lot from Rachel. I feel like we
mhm.
didn't really get to know Rachel at all until like the last 2, maybe 3 episodes. So Michelle was always the front runner from me, and I think that she just handled the season with such grace from start to finish.
Yeah, and of course, as the season progressed, their connection continued to get stronger and stronger and stronger. She never really lost her place as a front runner. She was a contender basically from the moment she got there. If you guys remember, Michelle did struggle a little bit with seeing Matt's relationships with the other girls develop as well, especially if you think back to that group date that she had to go on, right after her one on one. It went from getting there, getting all of this special time with Matt, to then having to adjust back into that sharing the guy you're into with a bunch of other women setting. Like you mentioned, Morgan, she did handle the season with a lot of grace, even with that struggle, that sort of natural jealousy. Overall, I think she couldn't have handled it better, to be honest. How did you feel?
No, I think she was great. And I always try to put myself in the contestants' shoes because if I'm Michelle and I just came back from that one-on-one date with Matt and I'm like, that's it. This guy is my husband. Like I've never had a connection like this before ever. And then the very next day you're going on a group date with however many other women who are like throwing themselves at the guy that you just made a serious connection with. It would really suck. But like Zach said earlier, not one time did Michelle start drama. Not one time did she cause drama. I feel like she just took it all on the chin. She stayed focused on her connection with Matt. And I think that's where she kind of, propelled herself in front of some of the other girls who were so like drama just obsessed,
Mhm.
it seemed like. And she was just
Yeah.
so mature. And I mean, I could sing her praises all day long, so I'll stop so somebody else can speak.
No, I mean
Well,
this Matt
Zachary,
James's season. Yeah, Matt James's season was literally the cattiest season of women we've ever had on the show, and Michelle managed to make it all the way to the end and come in late and rise above that. She was one of the most mature contestants we've ever had in Bachelor Nation, so I think that's why she ultimately ended up getting picked to be the Bachelorette, because she was so mature, so ready for marriage. She had a real job. She didn't want to be a thirsty influencer like a lot of the other girls. Like she really was just there for the right reasons, and that showed the entire time she was there.
yeah, and if you guys remember when she did have those moments of feeling a little bit insecure or maybe like she was struggling with the process, she didn't go to a bunch of other girls in the house to sort of compare where's your relationship compared to mine. She was never digging for gossip. She always just communicated directly with Matt, which I think is what allowed her to really keep moving forward in a process that, listen, would be tough on anyone, as we have talked about so many times on this channel. She obviously made it to hometowns, right? We all watched the season, so we know she made it to hometowns. And this is where their relationship really went to the next level. They kicked off their date, if you guys remember, with that romantic bike ride. And then they ended up at an empty theater that was all set up like Michelle's classroom. And then they were surprised with a Zoom call with Michelle's actual students. The students absolutely grilled Matt, you guys. It was a truly memorable moment. I think the way he handled it was adorable. The date was adorable. And I think it became very clear to Bachelor Nation how important being a teacher is to Michelle. Like, that is a very serious part of her identity. What do you remember, Zachary, when this moment was playing out? I was absolutely in love with her during this date.
This is when we really got to see Michelle in her element. You could tell that all of her students loved her so much. They really looked up to her and admired her. And a lot of the students I remember being really funny, and they all had questions prepared for Matt. They wanted to make sure that Matt was the right guy for Michelle, and Matt handled it like a champ as well. We have to give him kudos. He had good banter with the students. This is where we really saw Michelle's personality, because Michelle has always been like the nice and mature girl, but when this date came, we got to see the banter between Matt and Michelle, and that is when I knew that they had serious chemistry and that she was a contender to be Matt's potential fiance. So I'm also pretty sure that Michelle wanted to really work with Bachelor Nation when she was preparing to film her season around her schedule as a teacher, because as you mentioned, Fiona, being a teacher is very important to her. I think she really prioritizes being a teacher over being the Bachelorette. So I think that's why they initially decided to film Michelle's season later in the summer before her teaching starts.
Yeah, and Morgan, I remember thinking about, like, Matt James obviously works with kids. You know, that is something that's really important to him. And when we saw them together in this setting, I kind of thought like these two could really be a power couple. They're so aligned in so many ways. What did you think about that side of their connection?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of like I said before. I feel like I got to the end of Matt James's season kind of confused, like how it ended being Rachel and not Michelle, because we were really led to believe that they were soulmates. I mean, on every single level, they were, like you said, just aligned through and through with the things that they're passionate about, working with children, what they wanted for their future. It was too good to be true. I mean, clearly, because they didn't end up together, but also maybe the Bachelor producers knew uh, behind the scenes that Matt was more into Rachel, and maybe they wanted America to fall in love with Michelle because they knew that she was going to be the next Bachelorette, one of two. But yeah, I feel like, even though she didn't end up with Matt, she's on to much bigger and better things, and she's going to find her true soulmate on her season.
Yeah, absolutely. And on her season, we will probably get to see her incredibly charming parents again, who we got to meet, of course, during her hometown with Matt. This is when she really dove into how extremely important family is to her. If you guys remember, she had that really amazing heart to heart with her dad, where she thanked him for being there for her and helping her get through her last heartbreak. I actually think I teared up during this chat, you guys. It was so sweet. Then, of course, her dad, played the serious dad role. He had that intense conversation with Matt where they aired out his concerns about, the fact that his daughter is loving a man who, is also in relationships with other women, that classic dad conversation. But at the end of the date, if you guys remember, they got their parents' blessing and they all went and played a really fun game of basketball together. Again, it really just seemed like everything was so perfect. This is the night that Michelle realized she was in love. She told Matt, quote, "I can say that I'm falling in love with you. That makes me so excited. It's so scary and it's so genuine and it's so real." Now, I do want to know your feelings in general about their hometowns, but I have to point out, if you remember, Matt did not say he was falling back to Michelle. He leaned in and he kissed her, but he didn't reciprocate. Zachary, what were your thoughts by the end of their hometown date?
See, I don't think that Matt wanted to say it to everybody that he was falling for them, because you want to kind of save that for the right person. And I also kind of disagree with you, Morgan. I don't think that Matt and Michelle would work out in the end, because I just feel like they're different. And I don't think that Matt was like ready to get married. I mean, kind of obvious because he didn't end up proposing at the end. Michelle is like ready for like a wedding, kids. She has like her 9 to 5 teaching job. Matt is running around New York City with Rachel Kirkconnell, who he's with now, and we love that for him. But I just feel like Michelle and Matt were in different places of life. So I wasn't surprised that Matt didn't say that to Michelle, because I think his heart was with Rachel the entire time. I actually saw a connection with them since the beginning. And we know that Michelle, obviously, as you said, Fiona, is a huge family person. And I think that goes to show that a lot of her season that is going to be filmed is going to be in Minnesota. They're starting off in Palm Springs and then they're going to go to Minnesota to start filming. I think that might be because she wants to be around her family. So I'm excited to see Michelle in her element, like actually in Minnesota.
Yeah, Zachary, that is a really great point. It's going to be interesting to see how Michelle's season plays out. But keeping in our back in time journey, we've got to talk about their fantasy suites. If you remember, Michelle and Matt had a very unique Pennsylvania Dutch spa day. It featured a milk bath, covering each other in butter. It was quite the date. But nonetheless, Michelle was literally on cloud nine during their date. She said, quote, I really feel like Matt is my person. We can be sitting in a milk bath covered in butter and it feels comfortable. It feels like home. They did, of course, end up choosing, to spend the night together. Matt's season was sort of tough at this point because as viewers, we really already knew where things were heading. But I remember kind of like you, Morgan, at this point thinking, are we sure? Like, do all of the spoilers really have it right? Because I did see a stronger connection with Michelle than I did with Rachel. How did you feel during this milk bath adventure?
Yeah, well, I want to touch on something you said earlier, Zachary, about how, Matt wasn't ready to get married and Michelle, wants a husband, babies. Isn't that the point of being the bachelor? Like, that's what makes me so
Yeah.
angry with these choices that they make. It's like, no, the Bachelor franchise, we don't want to see Matt James running around New York City dating a different girl every week. We want to see Matt James get engaged. We want to see babies. We want to see weddings. And I think that's probably where the disconnect was in the season because he acted as though he was taking it seriously. Like, yes, I am going to get engaged. Yes, I am going to have a wife at the end of this. And then it all just kind of didn't happen like that at all. And I feel like maybe that's why, Fiona, that you and I share the same viewpoint as we're like, okay, how can he not end up with Michelle if he's looking for a wife, if he's looking
Mhm.
for the mother of his children, if he's looking to get married right now? Just because what we saw, and I'm not blaming Rachel. I'm not saying that Rachel is any more or less mature than Michelle. We just didn't see it from the edit. Like all we saw out of Michelle's edit was how amazing she was. And I feel like
Mhm.
all we saw out of Rachel's edit was that Matt James was attracted to her.
No, you definitely bring up good points, Morgan, because Matt was saying that he wanted an engagement the entire time. And if you remember, he pulled a fast one at the end when he told Chris Harrison that he was not ready to get engaged. And I think at that point, we knew that he wanted to be with Rachel and like date her or be her boyfriend, but Michelle wanted the whole thing. So I think that's kind of where the disconnect came. And that's kind of why Michelle ended up getting second place, which we are going to get into right now, Fiona.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually really interesting to keep this going because if you remember, Michelle being so ready is kind of the moment where things broke down. For that final date, they rappelled down the side of the resort. They did some very extravagant stuff this season. And during the night portion of that date, Michelle gave to Matt those Mr. and Mrs. James jerseys she had made. It was an incredibly sweet gesture. It was super thoughtful, but it really showed exactly where her head was, exactly what she was ready for, and exactly what she wanted. And literally, immediately after giving him the jersey, is when he realizes he's just not there yet with her. He's got some doubts about their relationship that he can't overcome. And he felt that he couldn't carry forward. He told Michelle exactly how he felt and he broke up with her. This was heartbreaking, but I mean, we're looking at her journey to be the Bachelorette, right? It was so heartbreaking that I feel like this is when Bachelor Nation went, okay, we're going to need more of Michelle. She deserves better. We may need her as a Bachelorette. Morgan, how were you feeling when this heartbreak played out?
I mean, this scene was brutal. Literally, she gave him a jersey, and like a split second later, he's like, this is going to be it. And then
Mhm.
remember, she asked to speak to him further, and he wouldn't see her. Do you guys remember that? He refused to
Yeah.
talk to her more, which I was like, that is such a jerk move. Like, how are you just going to cut her off like super cold like that? So I feel like I desperately wanted redemption for Michelle in that moment. And I'm always the type of person when wanting or when looking for a next bachelor or a next bachelorette, I want somebody who's going to take it serious. I want Michael A, who wants a stepmom for his son. I want Michelle, who wants to get married, have a husband, and have babies. I don't want somebody who just, a Matt James, who just wants to frolic and be an influencer and have his picture taken everywhere. So I definitely wanted Michelle after it was done with them. But I was shocked at how it all went down, truly.
I feel like Michelle needed to get the ultimate heartbreak in order for her to be the Bachelorette, because that is how Bachelor producers pick who the Bachelorette or the Bachelor is. A lot of times it is who gets the biggest heartbreak, who the audience feels most bad for, who the audience feels deserves love the most. And I think that's why Michelle was ultimately chosen. I don't know why Matt didn't end up giving her the closure. I think I heard rumors at the time that they did talk off camera after like he broke up with her, but I don't know if that's like actually true. But maybe he also wanted to respect his relationship with Rachel because she probably was like, "You're mine now." Like, do not. There's nothing else Matt could have said maybe to make Michelle feel better. But at least they were able to hash things out at after the final rose.
Yeah, so definitely there was more discussion about how Matt handled the breakup on After the Final Rose. During the show, Michelle revealed that Matt really hurt her in the split. She said, after that breakup, it was really hard for me to get closure. There was a conversation that I wanted to have because I was really struggling. She explained, of course, as we all know, that Matt rejected her request for a follow up discussion to get that closure and to find, as she put it, inner peace shortly after their breakup. Matt did apologize during the taping. He told her, quote, "There's no justification for why I didn't have that conversation. If I had known that this is how you were feeling in that moment, then I would have fought to have that conversation." So, listen, obviously, I think a lot of us were still a little bit disappointed in the fact that he didn't give her that closure, that he wouldn't sit down and have that conversation. I remember feeling like he was kind of blaming it on a breakdown in communication from producers. Like producers were saying to him, Michelle wants to talk, Michelle wants to talk. And he was like, no, I don't want to do that. Thinking maybe it was going to be some big speech. I mean, how are you feeling during this reunion of Matt and Michelle on After the Final Rose, Zachary?
See, this is where my theory is not true anymore because Matt obviously didn't talk to Michelle off camera. I think the producers get so heavily involved and sometimes they lie to the contestants so that they can get certain reactions and get certain feelings out there. And I think that's what was going on here. There was probably a miscommunication because I feel like Matt would have given her the closure that she wanted. Michelle only really wanted 2 to 3 minutes of closure. She didn't want to change Matt's mind. She knew Matt was in love with Rachel and she was okay with that. She accepted that, but she just wanted the closure. And like everyone deserves closure. Closure is so important. You need to know what happened, why it happened, because this was a very dramatic experience. So I feel like Michelle should have got the closure, but I feel like the producers were planning something to see her most heartbroken so that they can get that on the screen and then really bring bitter Michelle or upset Michelle or disappointed Michelle to After the Final Rose so we can get this raw reaction of confrontation. And I think that is honestly what is making a TV show. That's what it's all about when you make a TV show. These producers have to do their job. They have to get these raw reactions. So they had to do what they had to do. I don't think Matt intentionally didn't want to give Michelle the closure that she really needed.
Morgan, how did you feel when he gave his sort of explanation and apology? Was it enough? I mean, I feel like a lot of us were really rooting for Michelle on that couch as opposed to Matt at that moment. I mean, how are you feeling?
Honestly, I didn't buy it because regardless if she wanted 2 minutes or if she wanted 20 minutes, she deserved however long it took her to have that conversation. It's not like they went on one date and Matt James decided that, oh, we're just not compatible. I don't like her. It was the final two. Okay. She met, or they met families. Like, she was invested. So I feel like for him to just cut her off that cold, like, so what if it would have been an emotional conversation? Most times they are emotional conversations after a breakup. I mean, you see people after rose ceremonies go outside, sit on a park bench, and cry for 20 minutes. Like, I don't care what it was, Matt James. She deserved to have one final conversation with Matt and it does not matter the length of time, how upset she was, she deserved it. And I was really mad at Matt James for not giving that to her. And clearly, I still don't think that I've let that go.
But maybe he didn't
Well,
know. That's kind of what my point was. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe the producers were lying to him and saying, or lying to Michelle, and maybe they never
But
even
what would
asked
they
Matt.
say? What would they say?
They would say that
What would
Matt
be the
can't talk
lie?
right
Oh, she
now.
wants to ask to come back? Like, I feel like she still should have been able to have the conversation.
No, she should
There's
have.
no
She
to,
should have,
excuse,
but
I
I
don't think.
guess I
to
think the
me, it
producers just wanted to
feels
make a good
like
TV show.
to me, it feels like no matter exactly how it was presented to Matt, he chose to avoid going back. Like he was given the opportunity to have a conversation with her. He said that's, much himself. And his apology was, if I had known how much it meant to you, I would have followed through. So it does feel like, I have to say, I'm a little bit on Morgan's side here. It feels like he avoided some responsibility or avoided a position that he didn't maybe want to put himself in. But listen, his time as the Bachelor is over. We are focusing on Michelle. So let's get back to how she handled this split. She did talk about it on the Bachelor Happy Hour podcast. And she said, the most valuable thing that I've actually learned from this process is that I now know that I can get the answers and closure within myself. Even on page 4 after the final rose, I had the closure I needed. I had some questions, but I wasn't putting the ability for me to get closure on Matt's responses. So, no matter really how we feel, right, about how Matt handled the situation, let's focus on Michelle because I feel like this kind of just goes to the case of why she's going to be a great bachelorette. She seems to really be in a place where she's mature, she's sure of herself, she's sure of who she is, she's sure of course, what she wants. And it was on the stage at that after the final rose where she was announced as the Bachelorette. So, kind of a full circle moment. Did we like the decision when it happened? Breaking news, it's live. We're getting Katie and Michelle. How are we feeling, Zachary? Were you excited? Were you confused? Were you shocked?
I was all three of those emotions. I definitely didn't see that coming. No one expected there to be two bachelorettes. And I actually really liked the idea at first because Michelle and Katie are so different. And I think we really kind of needed that women empowerment on The Bachelorette, especially because of everything that happened in the past year with The Bachelor. Like the past few Bachelors have been duds. I mean, Matt James didn't get engaged. Pilot Pete dated like 5 different girls from his season after the show. We have one Bachelor who came out as gay. I mean, the Bachelorettes have always delivered more throughout the years because the statistics are higher. They end up with who they actually choose. I think Bachelor Nation just really needed the two women more than ever. And I was really happy about the news. I honestly did not see it coming. I did not know what to expect because recently they've been bringing back some blasts from the past. So we really didn't know who they were going to pick. I mean, the last Bachelorette they chose was Claire, and then obviously Tayshia came through. But like, I thought maybe they would have went down that route. So I was glad to see Katie and Michelle, and I think that they'll both bring. Like, obviously, we saw Katie's season, but I think Michelle's going to bring a really different dynamic to the show than Katie did.
Morgan, how did you feel when we learned that Michelle and Katie would be the Bachelorettes?
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything Zach said. I was so over the boys. I mean, come on. Can we have one happy ending? Like just an engagement, them get married? Like, no, we can't with The Bachelor. But like Zach said, The Bachelorette's track record is a lot smoother. It's a lot cleaner. I feel like they needed kind of like to prove again that they actually do this so that
Yeah.
people find love, get married, and have babies, and not just to make money on a TV show that all of America watches. So I was super excited. And like you said too, Zach, they're both so different. So we're gonna get so many different things from their season, but they're both great in their own different ways.
I totally agree with you both. We do have a premiere date for Michelle's season. It is October 19th, so mark your calendars. It is never too early to start the countdown. So now that we've kind of gone through all of Michelle's journey so far, how do we think she's going to be as a lead? What do you think her style is going to be, Morgan?
I think she's gonna do great. Like we said, she's very kind-hearted. She's very sweet. But also she's really funny. And I feel like we caught that sometimes, like at the very end of episodes. So I'm excited to see her like as the main person to kind of see a little bit more of her sense of humor. And I think she's gonna mean business. I don't think she'll be as like direct and blunt as Katie, just because that's Katie's personality. I feel like Michelle may be a little bit like easier going a little bit. Not that Katie isn't easygoing, but you get what I'm trying to say. But I'm excited for her. What do you think, Zach?
I just feel like Michelle is not gonna know how to deal with like when the guys go at it. She's gonna be so unbothered because Michelle clearly does not do drama. She didn't do it on that season. She didn't do it in real life. Like Katie got involved in a lot of drama during that season. So I feel like Michelle is not gonna know how to react when there is drama. And I also feel like Michelle loves Minnesota and she loves her family and she loves her job. So I kind of feel like she's looking for a guy that wants to move to Minnesota and really be a part of her life. So I don't know which guys will she choose, but I think she has a specific look or type that she's going for. I think she's really looking for that family man that wants to move to Minnesota.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we, of course, know that part of her season will be filmed in her hometown. So that might really be when things start to get super serious during her journey. Let's just speculate here for a second. So Blake showed up from Tayshia's season, obviously on Katie's season. And this is becoming more and more of a trend. People just popping up, showing up out of the blue, or showing up because they requested to be there. The story changes a little bit, but they seem to really enjoy bringing people back. If someone from Katie's season was going to go for it and try their luck on Michelle's season, who do you think it could be, or who would you maybe want it to be, Zachary?
Well, I think Katie said in an interview that she wanted it to be Josh from her season, but Josh wasn't super relevant. So I don't know if they would bring him back considering we didn't learn much about him. But I am going to steal Morgan's answer, even though Morgan wasn't asked the question yet. I think that it should be Michael A. I think that Michael A and Michelle would actually work out really well
Oh.
together. I don't think that Michael A would go on the show again because like he wouldn't leave his son. But I think that him and Michelle are in similar places in life. And I actually think that they might have a good connection.
Wow. I mean, all right, Morgan, I have to obviously hear your thoughts on this too, but I'm like blown away because I agree. I don't know that we'll get to see it, but those two could be incredible.
I mean, this might be an unpopular opinion because I know everybody wants to see him somewhere else, but I'm thinking Andrew S. and Michelle would be a power couple. I know everybody wants him to be the Bachelor, but I think they would be really good together.
But what about Emmanuel, Morgan? What about Emmanuel?
Oh, Emmanuel. Yes, that should have been my answer from the beginning. Absolutely. If I could pick one person, it's Emmanuel and Michelle all day, every day.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. Well, I love it. We know that the producers love to throw some curveballs. So hopefully, listen, maybe we can all put our heads together and just request the curveball this time around. Obviously, the big question is, do we think Michelle will end up engaged? I feel like I already know your answers, but it is a difficult process to go through. So Morgan, if you're trusting your gut right now, is your prediction she ends up engaged, she ends up dating someone, or she ends up single? What do you think?
I think she's definitely going to end up engaged. I think she's smart. She trusts her gut. I feel like she's ready for it. She does just remind me of Tayshia in a lot of ways, independent woman, knows what she wants. And it ended up working for Tayshia. So I'm going to say yes, she ends up engaged.
What about you, Zachary?
Oh yeah, I mean she's getting engaged and she's getting married within the year. I think Michelle really wants this, and I think that's why they chose her to be the Bachelorette because she is so ready. And I think they chose Katie because they knew they can get more of a dramatic season with a lot more twists and turns. So they wanted two different seasons.
Interesting. Well, I know we are very excited. That is everything we have to share with you guys. So now we want to know, are you guys excited? What stuck out to you from Michelle's journey in Bachelor Nation so far? And of course, the big question, do you think she will end up engaged? Let us know down in the comments. And if you are not already subscribed to our channel, make sure you do. Make sure you ring the bell because we will be keeping you updated on Michelle's season as we learn more details. As always, I am your host, Fanna Zaring, joined by the wonderful Morgan Wright and Zachary Reality. If you want to come say hi, check out our socials. They are on the screen right now. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.